All right, it's the Pete Sousa Show, live at the Alico building. It is warm in here inside the Rogue Media Studios. Cam likes to call it the Colt Brennan Memorial Studio. I guess we'll ride with that for a little while. We are presented by Slovacic's Crawford Austin Properties, and I'd like to thank D1. Of course, we had Chris Platt from D1 here yesterday, former Baylor star. You can check that out. That's up on the YouTube. We also have a great conversation Scotty and I have about whether or not Kim Mulkey will return for Britney Griner's Texas Sports Hall of Fame induction. I don't think anybody thinks she will. No. I talked to someone last night who said, no way, Jose. But it's a great time to be a sports fan. Baylor taking on St. John's tonight at 6 o'clock. They're in the Bahamas, and we are all over it. Cam Stewart's going to be with us in the last segment to go over that. Dan Ingam's going to check in with us in about 15 minutes, talk to you about the Big 12, the Dallas Cowboys, and give us a couple of locks going into the weekend. I want to start by talking about this documentary I watched. It was about this woman called Guru Jagat. And it seemed like everybody in the video was speaking with vocal fry. Like all the people would be like, Guru Jagat. It was Guru Jagat. And she was all over like Instagram. And basically what it was, she had this yoga practice that she inherited from this other guy who was basically a grifter. This guy comes to America from India, and the moment he touches down on American soil, he basically comes to America, as rumored in the documentary called Breath of Fire on HBO, because he was on the run from either like shadowy figures or law enforcement. And the moment he gets to America, we're so smart here and have such an open mind as Americans that we see a guy from India touch down in America and think that he must be a yogi expert. So this guy becomes a yogi expert, does awful things to people, steals a lot of money from people. And then this young American woman who was a drug addict and couldn't stop using drugs, gets off drugs, and yoga is a big reason she gets off drugs. And then she does the same thing that this guy did because she inherits his brand of yoga and also his brand of deception. It is like, I'm talking about it, right? And it was a day later. The reason I'm talking about it is because last night, I mean, it's a documentary. I'm not spoiling the ending, but the woman dies, has a pulmonary embolism. So now I'm feeling bad for this Guru Jagat who stole money from everybody. So it's a real emotional roller coaster, but I loved it. I was on the edge of my seat the whole time. 4 episodes, about 50 minutes apiece. I can do that, right? So that was great. Looking forward to Baylor's game tonight. I did a Baylor volleyball game last night. Baylor volleyball, they may host, by the way. They're ranked 17th in the country, and they had a big win last night against Texas Tech. Big loss for the world of social media, maybe. LeBron James is taking a break, and I've been thinking about this, and there's context to it. You know, Rich Kleiman, who is like all things Kevin Durant. By the way, you like my Waco hi-hat? Representing. So Rich Kleiman, who is Kevin Durant's manager, all things Kevin Durant. So this was on October 24th, okay? On October 24th, Rich Kleiman tweeted, "With so much hate and negativity in the world today, it confuses me why some of the national sports media still think that the best way to cover sports is through negative takes. We can all acknowledge that sports is the last part of society that universally brings us together. So why can't the coverage do the same? It's only clickbait when you say it. When the platform is so big, you can make the change and allow us all an escape from real life negativity. I, for one, find it all a waste of breath. The Olympics and JJ and Bron's show was the future of what this can be and should all be." Okay, so, you know, I like the sentiment, like, let's stay positive. It's sports. We're in the toy department. There is something to be said for that. Is there too much negativity in the world? Absolutely. There's something to be said for that, right? Like, I think we can all confirm, if you go on Twitter, you're sort of like diving headfirst into a cesspool willingly. At that point, it's not so much about people or sports, it's about society. So I don't think there's any way you can run and hide from the negativity. LeBron James takes a screenshot of that. And Scotty, let's call up. First of all, LeBron James takes a screenshot of that and retweets it and just puts amen, Rich Kleiman. All right, so here is LeBron James's tweet. And that's exactly, okay, that's, so can you read that, Scotty? I don't have my glasses.
LeBron tweeted, and with that said, I'll holla at y'all. Getting off social media for the time being. Y'all take care.
Okay. So that is, okay. So, and again, I'm a huge LeBron fan. I mean, like, he brings me to the television set, the game, the phone, whatever, however you're watching games, like, he brings me there. I've had a front row seat with LeBron. He's been in my life, right, since all of our lives, since he's like 14 years old. I love LeBron. This tweet, can you pull that back up, Scotty? Because we got to look at this. You ever get a tweet from like an angry woman, or like a woman? Maybe you get it from an angry man, right, in a relationship. Like, this is it. Like, when people start going emojis and like the peace.
I was gonna say the peace out and the king emoji. Add to it.
Like, that's just like LeBron. You're LeBron. Like, you're LeBron James. Like, what's going on over there? You know, like, I don't understand it. And I want to dive further into it. Like, LeBron is out there in so many ways. And I do understand what Rich Kleiman is saying, in a sense where, like, you know, we have the power, or they have the power, speaking of athletes, to take back their brand, to filter the content that they want through the medium that they want to put it through. The message, or the medium, is the message, right? Like, that's an old school saying that still applies today. And it's very obvious that, like, there's a stranglehold on some spaces now in the world of media by athletes. And I think that's awesome. I love that. I enjoy it. I don't think that anybody should be getting into somebody's personal life unless it affects their play on the floor. I'll give you an example before we get back to this. It was brought to my attention while getting ready for that Inside the 12 show that Chris Kleiman, the head coach of Kansas State's football team, is having like personal issues. Like, he's been he's hinted at such, saying that he has issues off the football field, that things are going on outside of his control. And then you do a deep dive, like, if you're me, because you just want to know. And, you know, it turns out that someone that is very close to Kansas State was on a podcast talking about how it's an issue with family, and it's not Chris Kleiman's family immediately, but it's someone in his circle. And I really appreciated how this podcast host dispensed the information. It was basically like, look, we know there's something going on. I think the guy knew what was happening, but it wasn't really our business as to what it was. I don't think anyone is out there, anyone of reputation, right, is out there really blasting these guys negatively. And this goes back to Chris Kleiman, or Rich Kleiman. Wow, it's funny. We got a couple Kleimans here. Rich Kleiman talks about, with so much hate and negativity in the world today, it confuses me. He's basically talking about national media, First Take, all that stuff. Look, at the end of the day, when you go out and you have a bad game and you play terribly, we're fanatics. We're fans. Like, if you're LeBron, you can leave social media. Like, we have a job to do. Like, as the media, when I'm here talking to you guys in this forum, I want to have fun. I really want to almost do stream of consciousness of what I feel and what I'm thinking based on my experience being around sports, covering sports, being a part of it, right? Like, but I try to stay positive. At the same time, there are certain things like Joel Embiid getting called out by Tyrese Maxey, that if they get leaked to the media, that's super interesting. It's affecting my favorite team's play. Like, he got called out by the other best player on the team, who everybody loves and has a great reputation for working hard and hustling. This is all, now Joel Embiid isn't showing up for work, or when he is, he's not in shape, or when he is, he's late. That affects the Sixers. That's interesting. Like it or not, like, we're going to talk about that. In any walk of life where people have a vested interest, these pro sports teams, like them or not, they're public trusts. They really are. Like, there's so much that society loves about sports, and there's so much communal about sports that moves societies in the right direction. If your team is winning, it, like Rich Kleiman says in this tweet, it brings out the best in us, right? It's a distraction. At the same time, if your team sucks, you're going to hear about it. Just like you heard about it in 1970 when a team sucked back then. You just heard it in different ways. I mean, the beat writers back then were out drinking with the players, and even they knew the code, right? You don't say what you know about someone's personal life until it starts to affect their play on the floor. And then you can say, well, Scotty Swingler played this afternoon like he may have been out all night last night partying in New York City, but you still can't say like you think, you know what I mean? Like, you can only kind of hint at that. Sorry, Scotty, you had a late night last night and you scored 4 points today. By the way, great Lou Williams story. Lou Will told it. I saw this. He was on a podcast. So, and I worked with Lou when I was with the Sixers. He was really young at the time. Wasn't even 21, but he has a story where the Clippers were on the road. They go to New York City. Lou Williams stays out all night long, to the point where Lou was pretty, I can tell you from my experience with him, he was like a good guy. He was not like a party animal, but that's what the Knicks would do to you too. Like, they would take these teams and, you come from LA, or maybe you're on an East Coast road trip and you play on a Sunday noon in New York City. Like, literally, teams have tried to have that like stopped I remember Isaiah Thomas, they used to use that as an advantage to say, schedule as many noon Sunday games as you can. Lou Williams falls victim, is out all night long, shows up at the arena, and he's literally talking to himself as he's getting ready to go in the game, and he's like, I'm still drunk. Like, so Doc Rivers puts him in the game. He turns the ball over twice immediately, and Lou Will says, look, I thought to myself, I'm either going to play all game long and people are going to think I'm drunk or think I'm terrible, or I can just own it. I can go over to Doc Rivers right now and be like, look, I messed up. So he goes over to Doc and he says, hey, I was out all night long. Like, you got to take me out. Like, I'm not equipped to play. Fine me, suspend me. Doc goes, you're staying in the fucking game. Sweat it out. I'm going to need you in the fourth quarter. And lo and behold, as the story goes, told by Lou Williams, Lou Will scores 25 in the fourth quarter alone. And I think the Clippers end up winning the game. And that's Doc Rivers, right, with experiences, knowing much more than we know. But I got off on a tangent there. Back to LeBron and the checking out on social media. Like, he's just as much a part of this as we are. I mean, he has so many different ways in which he contributes to the social media space, to the pop culture space, to the programming space. And I don't think anybody is asking to dig into the crate and find out what's going on in LeBron's life. Look, a lot of people might say LeBron is not the Boy Scout he portrays himself to be, but that's none of our business anyways. Like, and we don't know any of that. So if LeBron wants to remove himself from social media, that's all well and good. I totally understand that. I need to get off social media. Like, there's not, but like with the emojis and the peace and I'll hit you later, like, and then he retweets what Rich Kleiman said about the Olympics and JJ and Bron's show, the future of what this should all be. It's like, no, dude, there's got to be accountability. There has to be writers and people that cover the sport that hold these guys accountable, because at the end of the day, Joe Public is going to pay money that he doesn't have on his kid's birthday to treat him to see his favorite players in the world play in the NBA. And now it seems like there's a 50-50 chance that these dudes might not play. You know, like there needs to be the negativity out there sometimes, unfortunately, has substance to it. And it always has had substance to it. Back when I was a kid reading Phil Jackson in the Philadelphia Daily News, or Phil Jasner. And that's just the way it should be, as far as I'm concerned. Scotty, go ahead. Disagree, agree?
I agree with you in the big picture of this. I think I disagree in that, like, all the criticisms directed at LeBron are not accountability most of the time. So you brought up players not playing. LeBron is not one of those players that sits out and does load management.
And he's not Joel Embiid.
No. I wonder, too, how much of this is what people are saying about Bronny, right? And the negativity maybe towards him.
Clearly it is. And you bring up a great point. It is. And I've gone on this show, not like we're moving the major needle here, but people watch, listen, consume it. And I have said that I love what LeBron did with Bronny. Like, at the end of the day, like, it's like awesome. That I don't have an issue with that. And people that do have an issue with that, they're kind of entitled to that because, like, I mean, Bill Maher was talking about it on Real Time. I mean, like, agree, disagree, whatever, like, it's spilled over to, you know, is this like an meritocracy almost in a different way, right?
Yeah.
I mean, so it's certainly compelling discussion. I mean, at the end of the day, a second round pick for the LA Lakers and Bronny's last roster spot really doesn't mean anything.
No.
And if a guy is scratching and clawing and is getting, like, I'm not even of the school of thought like, oh, like he's taking a spot away from somebody else. I just don't believe that.
Well, he's not. He's in the G League now for a reason.
Yeah.
Like, because somebody else does deserve that spot at this point.
Yeah, but right? I cut you off. You were saying about.
No, I think your broader point is valid. I am a notable LeBron defender most of the time.
Yeah,
I think.
Me too.
I think he gets so much flack because people make the Jordan comparison. He gets so much flack because he was a superstar from such a young age. And at the end of the day, like, yeah, you're right. We don't know a lot about his personal life, and that's okay. But we know he's only ever been married once. He's like a good dad.
Dude, as far as we know, he's never gotten a speeding ticket, which I think is really cool.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, and so, if he wants to be a little sassy getting off social, it doesn't bother me.
No. Yeah.
I got off social media recently for my own stuff.
Yeah.
Like it's a good thing.
It is a good thing, but I just don't like, that's quite the blanket to cast over the negativity. And it's like, wait a minute, hold on. Like, I think we can all agree, like, the debate shows and all that crap. And honestly, that's part of the issue is that, and this is, I know this, and probably people in this room know this, like, those players do watch First Take.
Yeah.
Like, that's on in the facility. Like, if there's one piece of content they consume, it is First Take, which is kind of like hilarious.
Well, and what First Take has done over the last 15 years, and we all know this in this room again, is you've sensationalized coverage to where it's no longer objective. It's all about who can have the hottest take, get the viral 1 minute clip that's going to blow up and get you clicks and views.
Well, no, then look, I mentioned it yesterday. I was watching, like, Joey Galloway has this take, and Joey Galloway.
My gosh, this is so bad.
Did you hear this?
You told me this earlier.
Joey Galloway works for ESPN. So do I. Like, Joey Galloway's a legend, whatever. But, like, he has this take now that Indiana's quarterback should be sat out for this game, the biggest game in program history, maybe ever, against Ohio State, for fear that if he were to get hurt, like Florida State's quarterback did last year, that Florida State would get left, or that Indiana would get left out of the playoff. Like, it was like, and they talked about it. He and Reese Davis talked about it for like 25 minutes. And I was conflicted. I was like, from one perspective, good for Joey Galloway. It's an interesting creative take. He probably thought about it and feels some kind of way about it. But to exhaust it to that degree, I was like, well, this is kind of weird.
Dude, I give Joey Galloway a lot of love because he had a stint with the Dallas Cowboys. But that is a horrible take, especially for an ex-athlete, to suggest that. I mean, Curtis Rourke's the Indiana quarterback. He is playing out of his mind this season. He's quietly having one of the best seasons in college football right now. And to suggest he shouldn't play in the biggest game, right? What we all said in here when you brought that up earlier was like, or he could play and win.
Yes.
Like, he could go out there and lead. Can you imagine if Indiana beats Ohio State Saturday? Like, why in the world would any competitor sit that out? It's asinine.
And Joey, by the way, Joey Galloway, he's like smart. He's kind of slick. He presents a good argument. Like,
no, but that's insane. Yeah, though.
Last night, Reese was like, "Well, what about their culture at Indiana?" And Joe Galloway was like, "What culture? They don't have culture. They're building one now." He's like,
right. So the culture you should not build is sit out the biggest game of the freaking season.
Yeah,
because you're scared of a committee implicating. Like, oh my gosh.
All right,
it makes me mad.
Somebody who's not sitting out today is Dan Ingam. He's sitting in the big chair. He's coming up next. First National Bank of Central Texas. Let's get that right. They pay the bills. Dan Ingam is coming up next. I want to talk to Dan about the college football playoff, a little bit about the Cowboys. We can't talk about Oklahoma State. We'll probably talk hoops. Dan Ingam coming up.
It's the Pete Sousa Show. Sports, Pete.
Nobody tells our stories better than our clients.
The difference is stark. I was rear-ended at a stop. I thought I was fine, and then once I got home, I realized it's a lot worse than I thought. I ended up having a ruptured disc. You say you're not hurting, and then an hour later, you're saying you're in all this pain. I just felt like most people would think that I was lying. And that's when I decided to call Daniel Stark. I owe a lot to Daniel Stark. They really got me what I deserved.
The difference is stark.
We definitely love our relationship and love Extraco. It's been an amazing experience.
They made the PPP process easier. They were reaching out to me saying, what can I do to help you? That made a huge difference because my stress level, when we shut down, to afterwards was night and day.
Our experience with Extraco has been phenomenal since the very beginning, so we love Extraco.
All is right with the basketball world. God's gift to the game of basketball, the Boston Celtics are back in the NBA Finals, baby. I don't think the Mavs did anything special. They played well enough to win and win pretty good. You know what I mean? Yeah. I thought the Celtics didn't show up to play at all, and maybe if they showed some fight in the second half, they would have lost by 15 or so. Is he in the Red Sox Team Hall of Fame?
He is also in the Red Sox Hall of Fame.
Something about this guy being in the Team Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I did. So,
deserving, man.
Which seems like it fit.
Sports.
All right, Dan Ingam is here. We gave him a week off, and I got a ton of stuff.
I'm ready to roll.
I got a ton of stuff to unload on you right now.
All right, let's do it.
The first thing I want to ask you, we talked about this yesterday, and I can't wait to get your opinion on it. So Britney Griner is being inducted into the Texas Sports Hall of Fame on February 15th.
Mm-hmm.
Texas and LSU have a women's basketball game on February 16th. Do you think there is any chance that Kim Mulkey will go to that Texas Sports Hall of Fame induction?
I mean, there's a chance. And so I haven't talked to Kim in several years, so I wouldn't even pretend to know what she's thinking, but I would not put a lot of money on her being there.
Do you think they'll ever get it to get like come back together?
Nope. Kim, once Kim's broken off a relationship, typically it ends. You know? I mean, she's like, I don't think she has any ties to Louisiana Tech hardly anymore after leaving. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it'd be awesome.
Honestly, that's why we have Dan Ingam here, folks. Yeah. That's a great, reach back into history. Like, you go to Louisiana Tech in the press box at a football game, and they have a mural of all these important people from Louisiana Tech, whether it's Terry Bradshaw, and then she's right there in the middle of it. Mulkey is. There's not much of a relationship with that school,
which is why I think, I think maybe she went back for something for Barmore, the old coach. But I mean, think about that. I mean, if you're Louisiana Tech, that's got to be a pretty important alum. Yeah. It's rough. Yeah. But I would say it's pretty unlikely, but it would be pretty cool if she did.
It'd be amazing, right? Yeah. I'm hoping that, it's going to take time.
Someone you and I both know, I'm not going to say, maybe that person could make it happen.
Yeah.
I think you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. All right. What about, I mentioned before you came on here, and you're a media guy, savvy dude. What do you like? And I'm putting you on the spot here. I have no idea if you even thought about this, but LeBron going off social media, and then the retweeting of, Rich Kleiman, who's Kevin Durant's manager, talking about, hey, there's so much negativity out there in the sports world. Like, your thoughts on that. Just a quick thought. I mean, like, you know,
so I mean, like, I don't think it for him, like he's so big, his brand is so big. I don't know how much it impacts him to not be on social media. And if it helps his mental health, go for it. I mean, like, I'm sure that, and I got to be honest, I haven't been I'm sure there's been a lot of hot takes on it, a lot of people talking about. I don't know what those have been.
Yeah,
I'm sure some are like, oh, he's soft, he can't handle the heat, whatever. Like, if he wants to do it, great. You know, I mean, we could probably all like scale it back a little bit, to be honest with you. So yeah, I mean, there's a reason why. Like, I've got a son who's turning 13 tomorrow.
Yeah,
we don't let him on social media.
Yeah,
that's like. Maybe high school we'll let him on that.
Dude, I was talking to my girlfriend today, and she's got a 14-year-old and an 18-year-old or 15-year-old. And it's like, God bless you guys. Like, with the phones and stuff, just like trying to police that and do the right thing.
It's rough. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
He does have a phone, but like we have it's pretty locked down, and he has to turn it into us and all that kind of good stuff.
I love it. He turns it into you.
Yeah. I told him he lives in a dictatorship until he's gone. That's just the reality of it. Yeah.
Sounds like playing for Mulkey. I love it.
Fair enough.
All right, let's get to college football. The college football playoff. It's before we know it, we're going to be talking about the finality of it. Like, there's a point in time where I feel like it's a little too soon, right, to like start talking about this and ranking these teams. But now you're looking at it, and it's like, wow, this is very real. As a fan, how much more are you interested? I mean, your team is toast, right? Oklahoma State. I know you still follow Baylor.
But in some ways, that frees you up just to care about good football.
Yeah. How much more invested are you this time around with the stakes that are higher with the college football?
So I'm not sure that for me, I'm any more or less, because I loved college football before, and I still love college football now. I guess there's more games that matter, or at least impact the playoffs, so that's fun. But for me, I'm not the fan that maybe they're trying to reach too. I mean, maybe they're trying to get just the casual sports fan who might tune into Arizona State football game because it has playoff implications. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'd be watching that, following that, even if it weren't. So I'm not sure I'm the guy, but for me, my level of excitement is just about the same. And I think the playoff, I'm pretty fired up to see those playoff games and see if we get some fun upsets, that kind of deal. But for me, it's about the same.
When you look at the playoff rankings, I mean, it is SEC, Big Ten, all over the place. The Big 12 sort of like falling out of the picture.
Yeah, I think it hurt them that some of the teams that we thought were going to be pretty good are not good. Oklahoma State, Utah, Kansas State, 3 teams that have had a lot of success over the last 10, 15 years. They're not, I wouldn't call them brand names, but in the world of the Big 12, they are. Instead, you've got BYU, Arizona State. And I don't care what you say, there's a built-in bias. We all have it. And you look at schools that maybe are new to being good. You know, even Indiana, some people are like, what the heck? You know? Yeah. And so even though the committee seems to like them. So I think that plays against BYU. You put a different logo on BYU. Oh, that's just a one-loss team. They're still really good, but you know they haven't been good in a while, and they've won a bunch of close games. I get that. So, but I think you're climbing an uphill battle for the Big 12. They want to get 2 teams in, and the way that's gonna, I think some years the only way that's gonna happen is if you get 2 undefeated teams or an undefeated team and a one-loss team in that championship game, and that's hard to do. It's just really hard to do that.
What do you think about Big 12 basketball? I've been lucky. I got my like the first 4 games, right? Like 2 of them, one's at Arizona, one's at Utah. It's just a different look. Like, as somebody who's an Oklahoma State fan, right, and has been for a very long time and has followed Baylor, how does this expansion of this conference, does it appeal to you? Or is it, honestly, is it like,
yeah. So go ahead, finish your thought. Yeah.
No, I mean, like, is it appealing or is it too much? Because like even myself, I'm pumped. I'll go wherever I get sent. But I'm like, wow, Utah. When I saw that the game was going to be in the state of Utah, immediately I clicked like muscle memory. It's going to be BYU.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, oh, that's right. It's Utah.
So I'm glad in basketball, it's going to be a fun league. And I understand why the Big 12 added the teams that they did. It strengthened the league and it made it, secure for a long time. I don't love 16-team conferences. I just don't. It's not as fun. I like regional, and I'm not like putting my head in the sand because I get that for TV reasons and for securing the conference, you needed a bit. But I mean, that's not as fun. Like, you're going to go, like, I liked it when you played everybody in the conference every year.
Yeah.
Again, that's just me. I like double, so I'd go back to the Big 8 if I could, that's how far back. But I mean, and again, I'm not old guy on my lawn about this. I get that things change, but I do think it kind of stinks when you got a 16-team conference, 18-team conference. You know, it's just not the same. Like, look at Indiana. Like when you get these teams that don't, like, because of the schedule, I'm talking going back to football now, but they haven't played anybody in their conference. Not their fault, but they somehow have played like 7 of the 8 worst teams in that conference, you know? Texas hasn't had to play as tough a schedule. Again, not Texas's fault, but I mean, a 16-team conference is just not as fun.
Scotty, where was that place off the top of your head that we went for the we got the acai bowl today?
Monaco?
So Scotty and I are at Monaco, right? Okay. We grabbed this acai bowl, and there's a woman and a man next to us, and they have it's Colorado gear on, like you could tell the official gear. And right away, I'm like, what the hell are they doing here? I'm like, oh, of course, you know, they're here for a Colorado. They're a Big 12 school. It doesn't have to be Baylor volleyball or Baylor women's basketball hosting the NCAA tournament to get a school like Colorado here anymore. I'm just like, wow, it's a whole, it's still processing, you know.
It's a good thing. It really is that the league's secure. I mean, do you want to be the Pac? I mean, if you're Oregon State or Washington State, I'm sure they wish the Pac-12 would have been more aggressive and made some different choices down the line. So I get it, and I'm happy for the future of the conference, and the schools that I care about are secure-ish. I mean, it's not quite what they were before, but it's just, I don't love mega conferences. It's not as fun for the fan.
All right, so much to cover with you. A couple more things because it's been a minute. The Cowboys obviously just free fall. Okay?
Tank, baby. Tank.
So the future of the Cowboys, this is where it gets kind of interesting. Like, who's going to be the Cowboys' next head coach?
Man, I mean, not Mike McCarthy. I mean, it's hard to envision
do you buy any of the Dion hype? Do you think it's a Bill Belichick? You know, like, where in your experience covering the Cowboys and being around the team, like, does Jerry Jones go with this? Or is it a total wild card?
He would go. I mean, he'll swing big and try. I mean, you got to call Bill Belichick, but does Bill Belichick want to go to the Cowboys?
Yeah.
Is that a franchise where he wants to go? I mean, where he, he's used to having a certain amount of control, even though towards the end, his roster making was not that great.
No,
if you look at the Patriots, but you certainly make that call. So I don't know. I mean, do you, and Deion Sanders, to talk about that one, I was a Deion skeptic, but the reality is he's won at both places he's been so far as a head coach, right? If he were, I saw Joel Klatt say, if he were to leave Colorado this year, he would leave a hero because he left that place better than he found it, and he's built a foundation there. So there's crazier things than Deion Sanders being the coach of the Dallas Cowboys. I mean, he feels like a college coach to me,
sure does,
in the same way Scott Drew does, but I guess that's also kind of limiting when you say that about somebody.
Yeah.
Oh, they're good with kids. Maybe they can't do it with grown men. I don't know, but I wouldn't put it past him. And I wouldn't, if you told me Deion Sanders is the next coach of the Dallas Cowboys, I'd be like, all right, let's roll. I'd be okay with it. I think be fun.
I think Deion's almost too smart to go there, in a sense where I think he has something really special going in college. And I'm not saying he's going to stay at Colorado. I think he could go to Florida State. Like, I think the transfer portal, the money, he's got it all sort of figured out right now. And he's the hot guy. Like, I don't know. You go to the NFL, and he knows better than anyone. It's just a much different animal.
Yeah. And, I will say this, that Deion Sanders, he's flashy, but he's proven there's a lot of substance to him as a coach as well.
Yeah.
That he's, because they've gotten better as this year has gone on.
Yes.
They got their butt whooped by Nebraska. And it did not look good. And they've played a lot better since then. So I don't know. I could see him staying at Colorado. I could see him wanting to stay in college, but go somewhere where he has more resources than Colorado.
Yeah.
Where he can, do more in the NIL world. But yeah, I'd be fascinated if he were a candidate. But you got to get a new coach in there if you're the Cowboys. You just have to.
What are you more excited about right now? Baylor football or Baylor basketball?
I mean, if you're talking about this season, I'm still more excited about Baylor basketball. Yeah. But the reality is, let me say this. You know what? I'm going to change my mind. I'm going to say Baylor football, because this season could have been, we could have been looking at a new head coach and everything's going south, and they lose all those recruits that they've signed with the NIL money they brought in, that kind of thing, a good recruiting class. So I guess I'm more excited about the direction of Baylor football. I mean, their best case, they're going to win 8 games. That's fine. I mean, and I don't care what bowl game they're in, and I know that it's just.
I think they might win 9 games.
Exactly, and that I meant regular season. You're right. They might win 9 games. You're right, and that's awesome. But I mean, they want to win Big 12 championships, so that's the goal. But I'm more excited about the direction of Baylor football, definitely.
By the way, you and I sat here about a month ago. I told you winning out was very, very, a very real possibility.
100%.
And now here we are.
I would be.
The problem is Kansas. That's like, but Baylor is playing so well right now.
I agree.
Like,
but you go down to Houston, you know, throw a couple picks against a Houston team that's got. I mean, that game is not.
They have really good. By the way, they have great cornerbacks. Houston does very good. So that could be an issue. But I think, okay, you got great cornerbacks. How about we run the ball right down your throat like we've been doing?
Yeah, they made that change at tackle, and that's been massive. I was talking to Ricky Thompson.
What was he saying?
He said the same thing. He said that was the biggest move on making the switch on the O-line right there.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah,
so
and that's probably a huge part of it. I mean, their offensive line getting better because they move teams down the field. I mean, you watch the line of scrimmage and what goes on there. They're blowing teams off the ball, and it's not just like TCU or Texas Tech. Like, it keeps happening.
100%. And they got the right guy at quarterback. I mean, that makes a big difference too. Yeah.
A lot of stuff changes when you got that right. All right, do you have any picks for us?
Bingo, I do.
Bingo, I do. First National Bank of Central Texas. Here's Dan.
And I'm not going to call anybody out like the guy you had on last week.
Like Corey Dickman.
I know Corey. Come on now. All right, so I'm starting with my college pick right here. I'm going Texas Tech on the road, giving 3.5 points against the Oklahoma State Cowboys, who have they've mailed it in. Their season's over, and I'm going Texas Tech, easy money, 3.5 point favorites. Give OSU the points. You still win with that one. So
easy money. All right, great Rodney Dangerfield reference.
I mean, you look at that line, you're like, how's it only 3.5 points? But then, you know, and then this one, you know, this is you would never. Normally, when you see a double-digit favorite in the NFL, you walk away from it. I just have a feeling. So the Chiefs are 10.5 point favorites over Carolina.
Yeah.
Like Kansas City, their first loss, they bounce back. They win by 2 or 3 touchdowns over the Panthers. Now, if you were in Vegas, what you would do is you would tease it down with another game, but we don't have the ability to do that here on this show right here. You would tease that down to about maybe a 4 or 5 point spread.
But I think honestly, one of the reasons your picks have been good this year, and Corey, I'm going to talk to him a little bit about this. Corey spreads himself thin with some of these teases, and I think that's dangerous. I mean, you know, one and done. Right? Yeah. Like, let's get one game. Let's pick it right. Because then what happens is at the end of the year, you look at your body of work and, okay, maybe you didn't hit a bunch of home runs, but you slowly and surely have built, right, a nice little nest egg.
It's like someone who buys the mutual fund and, you know, is okay with that 7 or 8, 9, 10%, you know, yield each year instead of going after individual stocks and trying to hit a home run. You know?
Listen to this guy. First National Bank of Central Texas. Anything else going on over there? You guys opening any more banks? I know you're on a roll. I mean,
no, that's not a monthly thing. That's a big investment right there. But you'll be the first to know when it happens. So,
all right. Dan Ingam, dude, thanks for coming by. No, always a pleasure. We got Cam next from Locked On Baylor. I'm always excited to talk to Cam, but we're talking Baylor St. John's tipping off in about 4 hours from now.
Nice.
So stay with us.
It's the Pete Sousa Show. Sports Pete.
Nobody tells our stories better than our clients.
The difference is stark. I was rear-ended at 70 miles an hour. I was injured, had a concussion. The insurance company, they delayed. They were playing games from the initial conversation. They weren't going to help me. The biggest thing I learned through this is that you can't go through this alone. I called Daniel Stark. They were going to help me and everything was going to be all right. Daniel Stark got me 10 times the insurance company offered.
The difference is stark.
We definitely love our relationship and love Extraco. It's been an amazing experience.
They made the PPP process easier. They were reaching out to me saying, what can I do to help you? That made a huge difference because my stress level, when we shut down, to afterwards was night and day.
Our experience with Extraco has been phenomenal since the very beginning. So we love Extraco.
You are here with your shoot first point guard, Corey Dickman.
Also, if you're not creating new fans in a small market, then you're not creating that base of people to go to games and pay for merchandise and pay for stuff and concessions at the Moda Center and yada yada.
Yeah, let's talk draft. That's the only thing we have to look forward to.
The only thing we have to look forward to.
That's what I will teach my son. You will teach your daughter as Blazers fans. It's like, look, the two most exciting times of the year for us are the draft lottery and the draft itself. Like, here we are. This is our thing. Give me some memories and thoughts. I know you had mentioned the first time you had met Bill. What were some of those first memories that came back when you heard the news?
Sports.
Stewart, I probably jumped the gun there. Cam Stewart is with us. Cam, knock it off, dude.
Okay.
By the way, did you get nervous when Chris Platt walked in here yesterday after you guys had a Twitter war?
Oh yeah, that huge spat that we had on.
He was a great guest.
I'm sure he was. Yeah, what I heard was great.
Yeah, he was awesome.
No, I was not nervous. Yeah, at some point, you know what? At some point, the worst that can happen is someone can beat you up. And you've seen me and my physique. Everyone can beat me up. So what am I going to be nervous about? Sometimes I do worry about that. Like if someone broke into my apartment, I could do nothing.
Well, and then
I have some pepper spray in the pantry.
And then it's like, do I need a gun?
Yeah. You think about those things when you get robbed at gunpoint outside your house and your lib girlfriend's like, I will not be with you if there's a gun in the house.
You're
also super depressed.
That's good job, Grace. I have a bat that I cannot get that easily. And I got a dog who hates other dogs, but loves people. So I'm in trouble, man. I mean, that's it. But honestly, I will bite your nose off. So how about that? Like I'm going out with
Yeah. I mean, I have that feel like I have that thought of like,
you got to do what
fight
you got to
flight,
do.
Like I'll do something.
Yes, you got to.
And I'm a little like, I don't know, innovative is not the right word. Creative, I guess. Like I can find something.
But then, Cam, there's also, before we get to Baylor St. John's, people that are watching the segment to hear
and
from
it's only the third story. I can jump.
The people who are getting to Locked On Baylor's Cam Stewart. Cam, but it's like, okay, do I just let this go? Like, take the money, take whatever you want. Like sometimes you really don't need to get in the way.
That is what I did with the carjacking.
Yeah, Cam was carjacked, folks. We've told that story before.
And like, dude, I don't want this to sound like I'm not some huge macho alpha, so I don't want this to sound
no
like this.
shit, Cam.
But I had plenty of thoughts afterwards.
Scotty, can you believe that? Cam's not a macho alpha.
Like I had plenty of thoughts afterwards of like, why don't I should have just like called them on their bluff.
Yeah.
Which I know you shouldn't when you think they have a gun. But like I heard this kid's voice crack when he was telling me to get out of the car. And like they don't want to kill somebody.
Yeah.
These are teenagers, clearly. They want a car. They want to smoke weed in the car.
But in my opinion, that's how you get killed.
But yeah, it's the risk reward thing.
Yeah.
But I thought about that a bunch. I was like, what if I just fucking called them on it? You know?
But if somebody comes into your house, all bets are off.
Or if I just swept the leg. Yeah, well, if they're coming into your house, chances are like they don't fear shit. You know what I mean? Like they're ready to kill if they're coming into your house. You know what I mean? Unless they're like the people in the Lifetime movies that I see reviewed by my guy Jay Harang, who are just trying to place cameras in there. They're coming in like ready to kill if need be. So that's a different story. But anyway.
All right. Baylor tonight takes on St. John's. This is one of my favorite times of the year. Right, the game starts at 6 p.m. There's college basketball on right now. It's just an exciting time. Baylor's a 2-point favorite, only a 2-point favorite. St. John's is ranked 22nd.
Ranked teams, yeah.
I mean, I know you're not the St. John's guy, but from what you've looked at this game, like what are you expecting from it? I guess expectations for Baylor and their first big matchup since Gonzaga.
Yeah,
that's not true. Arkansas,
yeah. Well, I think those matchups are not created equal because I think we've seen since then that Gonzaga might be the best team in the country. Like there's that argument to be made. And Arkansas is still, I don't think they've lost other than that Baylor game. So those are two solid top 20 teams. St. John sneaks in at 22 and they haven't played anybody. I mean, they did beat Wagner, who I think beat Villanova. So maybe they have beat somebody.
Wagner didn't beat Villanova.
I was looking at some advanced metrics this morning. I'm more of a stat guy than a macho alpha, a stat nerd, so to speak. And they have this metric that's like likelihood to beat another D1 team.
Yeah.
Which most of the time isn't going to help you. But I was fascinated by it because Baylor was like way higher than St. John's. and St. John's has not played anyone in the Power 4, and Baylor's played 2 top 20 teams. So like that kind of it, like, to me, I like that better than strength of schedule because Baylor's won one of those games. They got blown out in the other. So all that to say, this is St. John's first test. Now it helps that they have a Hall of Fame coach on the other end, but this is their big test. For Baylor, what I'm looking for is again going to be defensively, which I know we talked about after that Gonzaga game, because the last 2 games they've played, they're plus 110 against Sam Houston and Tarleton, and they've shown a lot of different looks, specifically in that Sam game. But in the second one against Tarleton, they played pretty much man the whole game, which they haven't done since Gonzaga. And that will be kind of the barometer of the confidence level of this man defense, is how long they stick with it tonight against St. John's, which, again, I mean, like, Baylor plays well in his zone. Scott Drew's a zone guy, but zone teams do not win the national championship.
No, unless you're
Ask Jimmy
Syracuse.
Boeheim.
Yeah.
Like, he had a good team for 40 years, and they won it one time because they had Carmelo Anthony. And like it just doesn't win at the highest level anymore. Now that's a pretty high bar, but you know, I mean, when Baylor's got a good team with the run they've been on, Final Four, like that's the bar.
But
you
if
know,
you
like
have-
that's a good season.
And I've talked to
Great
coaches
season.
about that little name drop here for you. TJ Otzelberger. I remember asking him once, why do you guys run this? He's like, dude, you do it just to totally freak out the other team. Like, they know it's in your bag. You run it, you throw it at them, and you can see shell shock for a little while. Like, and that could be what Baylor's doing, right? Developing, you know, and somewhat by necessity. I mean, after that Gonzaga game, that was probably pretty
You
scary.
knew they needed to work on the man.
All right, Scotty, what do you got to say? Scotty's like frothing at the mouth over here.
I'm not frothing at the mouth. I don't want to.
Scotty, you are too. You're a Baylor guy. Come on, let's go.
But I
Waco
just
High, what happened?
I want to brag on Scott Drew because I looked this up after we played Arkansas. There are 7 active college basketball head coaches who've won a national championship. Scott Drew's one, so there's 6.
2 of them
Baylor.
tonight,
and we are playing 3 of them in the non-conference slate, including the only 2 guys who've won multiple. Patino is one of the guys who's won 2. So
who are the other guys? Calipari?
Well, Hurley had just won 2.
Gotcha.
And then Calipari is the other one that we've played.
It's funny, and you know what's funny?
And Mark Few's like a Hall of Famer.
should be one. Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Mark Few hasn't won one yet. Exactly. But I thought, Cam, I'd want to hear your thoughts on this. We did a little bit of press.
What the fuck is this game show?
No, but we're talking. I thought we were bringing Cam.
Some Baylor guys here, please.
Right?
First couple Baylor
He's
guys.
got the Baylor hoodie on.
Ask Cam. I'm
Cam,
kidding. I don't pretend to know as much as this.
We've talked a lot about defense because it was so just disastrous against Gonzaga in the first game, and there's been different looks. I like to see that Baylor tried a little bit of press in the last couple of games as well.
They did, yeah.
Do you think that's something they would try to employ against a better team?
They could. Now, Scotty, I felt like such a wet blanket thinking about it that I didn't even talk about it in my post game. But like the full court press didn't really work against Sam Houston. It did against Tarleton, and they won by 63 points. So that kind of shows you where Tarleton's at.
Talent gap's pretty significant.
And while I was watching it at the Foster, I was like, I just don't think this press right now it's not good enough to beat Power 4 teams, which I'll consider. I mean, let's call it a Power 5 for basketball's sake. Yeah. St. John's in the Big East, the top teams of the Big East are still pretty good. I don't think that's going to work against good teams. That doesn't mean you won't see it tonight. But at times it was just real easy for Tarleton to break it the same way it was for Sam Houston and even a little bit of Arkansas. They showed a little bit of it in that game. So overall, I don't think it's good enough, but who knows, man? I mean, these are the kinds of games you really test things out. You throw some things against the wall against Sam Houston and Tarleton, and they stick. But if it's not going to stick against the St. John's, well, then it's not going to stick against Houston. So I think you will see some multiple looks tonight. I would love it if they're a good pressing team, Scotty. Like really, because I think this Baylor offense can be pretty lethal in transition.
Big time.
With how quick their guards are and how well they finish at the rim, specifically VJ Edgecombe, obviously, like on the rim. So I think if they can be a press Virginia 40 minutes of hell type team, which is a long way away, I think that is big time advantage, Baylor.
Where are you guys putting your I guess where's your care factor for a game like this? I mean, because it could tell you a lot about this team in the early phase of the season. Scotty, go ahead.
Yeah, high, because between this game and then UConn, I mean, it's the last two real chances to prove it against great competition before you enter the Big 12.
You could get Tennessee. You could get Tennessee tomorrow.
True. Yeah. But yeah, no, I care about this game a lot. And again, I put a lot of stock in that coaching matchup. That these are two chess masters of the sport at this point, and I'm fascinated to see. And I think I care because I want to see the growth, right? So Gonzaga was a disaster. Arkansas, you played well enough to win. They also shot horribly in that game. So now what's the next step? Can we play a little bit better defense? Can we play man against St. John? If they shoot well, can we keep up and compete? If they have a good night offensively, I want to see the next step of progress for them.
Yeah, Baylor, the over-under is 153, by the way.
Ooh.
Yeah, which is usually pretty close. So that's a low-scoring game.
Yeah, that's puts you in the mid-70s.
Agreed. I mean, for these,
I think that's about right.
But I think I could see Baylor winning 73-61, and that's under by 10 points or whatever.
Yeah. So a lot of folks, by the way, a lot of Baylor fans have gone to the Bahamas.
Not a bad life, huh?
No. So
Mosley tried to get us to do the show from there. It did not pass.
No, he didn't. Did he really?
Would have been great.
Did he?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, our boss would never, ever go for that. I would ask for a salary first. Not our bosses here, but to be clear.
No, our bosses here kick ass.
Yeah. They would send us. We should have asked.
You really could. I mean, honestly, if you put together a blueprint on how that was going to make money, you probably could have figured it out, dude.
Oh, we could have done our own broadcast somehow. Yeah. I'll give you play-by-play.
Oh, gosh.
I could be an analyst for you.
You could. I think you'd be a pretty good analyst.
We would have a heck of a team going. Baylor basketball with us on the call.
I think that'd be great.
That would be awesome. It's something for Rogue to think about.
I'm hoping. I'll find out. I have a college football game next weekend. It could be either Texas Tech or Baylor, or it could be totally some off-brand. It could be an FCS playoff game.
Oh, okay. That'd be fun though.
It'd be great. And I was in.
Have you done those?
Never. Okay. I was in the mix for Corey's in the chat. He said next year. I was in the mix for. I think I was heavily in the mix for Baylor, Kansas, but now that's kind of blown up.
Now the game's getting good.
The game's getting real good. What do you expect from Baylor this weekend, by the way? Because I'm not going to talk to you tomorrow.
Football?
Yeah.
I guess we're not talking tomorrow. So I liked your prediction.
We can talk tomorrow if you want, but I'm just letting you know.
That's all right. I liked your prediction. I think they're going to cruise. This is the best I've felt about a game in a while. In fact, I said on Lockdown Baylor today, I did it with Parker Ainsworth, the Houston guy. I was like, we're at a point where if Baylor lined up against Penn State tomorrow, I'd be like, I'd give them a game.
Yeah, I think so too.
And it's obviously not perfect. We've talked about the defense, but this offense can't really be stopped right now. Yeah. And Houston is the best defense they've played since Iowa State when this win streak started. But they're already they got top 5 defense in the Big 12, and they're worried about Bryson Washington. They're like, we can't stop a guy like that. I'm like, no, you probably can't. So I feel pretty good. And I'll say this: we will know by halftime, most likely, who's going to win the game. If it's somehow by some miracle, 13-7 at halftime, whoever's winning, I like Houston's chances there. Yeah. But more likely, it's going to be 28-10. And Baylor's going to run away with this. I mean, Houston scored 30 points twice, and one of them was against Rice. That doesn't count.
You know what I thought was cool? Your nemesis, arch rival, Lex Luthor, Chris Platt, was sitting in that chair yesterday. I can't believe you guys.
He doesn't even know who I am.
I was waiting. I was waiting for the fireworks because I went back and I read your tweet exchange, and he was hot.
Oh yeah, I threw some real body blows back.
So I asked Chris. I said, what surprises you most about this Baylor team and the run that they're on? And he was like, the running game. He was like, it really came out of nowhere. And it's something you've talked about too. When you think about, you start the season with Dom Richardson, right?
Yeah.
And Richard Reese is in the mix. I think, but this is a question for you because I didn't want to press Chris on it because it's not his job. Why the hell isn't Richard Reese returning kicks? I know Jamal Bell is awesome, but like at some point, I think you got to give the kid a shot. And maybe they do down the stretch, but do you have any inclination on what's going on with him?
No. And I have thought about this, but what I go back to is sometimes as analysts, we're like, we're just not there every day.
Yeah.
And last year, he didn't get any touch, like next to no touches compared to what he had in 2022 as a running back. And this year I was like, this is Richard Reese's get back. This is where he's going to get some touches again. He's going to be a force again. He's going to look like the freshman All-American he was 2 years ago. And he hasn't. And you've seen Bryce at Washington and Dawson Pendergrass carry this run game. So that's what I've thought with like the special teams of it all. It's like, because I was thinking the same thing. Like, why isn't he taking kicks back? And now I'm like, well, maybe there is just something, because I was wrong about the running game with him. So maybe there's just something wrong with that too. I don't know. Jamal Bell's taken one back against arguably the worst special teams unit in the conference, which is another amazing reason, like another amazing factor of like why Colorado's so good.
Yeah.
Like they're a little bit better on the offensive line. They're a little bit better defensively. Their special team stinks, but they're good. They're the second best team.
Yo, is our boy Kevin Borba at Locked On Buffs, is he just like dining at Capitol Grill every night? Is he just like loving life? Like, because business couldn't be better if you're Borba.
It's booming, dude.
Because the team is awesome. And it's Dion. Like,
I don't want this to sound come off the wrong way because I like Borba and what he does with that show. But doing Locked On Buffs with Dion as the coach is like shooting fish in a barrel for YouTube views. So I know he's sitting on pretty pennies, man.
Oh, really?
Like I had one of probably my best overall month ever in like September and got a nice like bonus in the paycheck from ad revenue. And I look at the views like per day and I'm like, you just throw Dion and Colorado in there and
well, it's for someone like me,
mops up.
It works awesome because genuinely, I think you got to be interested in Dion and what's happening. It literally is. It's brand new. It's people don't like it, which kind of is bizarre to me. Like the whole thing, there is a lot on the bone there.
It's one of those that when he starts winning, like you don't get fatigued by it.
No.
So I've kind of complained about it. Like when Baylor started winning, my viewership's gone down. They like it when the coach is about to get fired. Like that's when I get all the views.
Yeah.
But with Dion, you're winning either way. Because obviously if they're losing, your views might be a little bit better because Dion has plenty of haters. But when he's winning, it's also fascinating.
Borba's got like the nicest house in like Cherry Creek. I know. Like the suburb in Denver, right? Like he just got engaged. Yeah, what'd you say?
I think Jana Van Gytenbeek's Cherry Creek.
Oh, we never talked about
because
JVG.
Abby told me that's like the best place to live in Denver.
Okay.
Yeah.
Jana Van Gytenbeek. I'm happy you brought that up. So she is a Baylor reserve point guard. Transferred to the school from Stanford. There is a lot to like about her energy, and she's so fast. When she's on the court, there are moments where she might be almost too fast for her own 2 feet.
Like you lose her. Yeah,
you do. I'm serious.
Yeah.
Are you pulling my leg? Or are you serious?
No, I'm serious.
Yeah.
Like she's quick as a hiccup, man.
Quick.
I'm a Jana Van Gytenbeek fan.
So
I thought she did a lot for them last year down the stretch.
So I'm in CVS last week, right? And I'm waiting on a prescription. So I'm there, and
you're there.
Another one, she's an all-star because, and I told Matt Jones this to his face, a star athlete in CVS by themselves. First of all, Jana was on crutches, so I was a little concerned actually, but I'm too old to like hang around and talk, like not be a weirdo. So, but she comes in on crutches, which I had no idea that she was on crutches. And I genuinely was like, I've called some of her games. She's may know my face, probably not though. And I was like, hey, like what happened? And she like was ready to talk about it. She turned around. She's like, yeah, in our game on Sunday, like and it looked bad, right? I'm like,
yeah.
So what did they say? She's like, I haven't said anything yet, or nobody said anything, but like, I'm done for the season. And then I go, I just want to tell you, like, you give that team such a shot in the arm. And it's to have like someone come off the bench that can do that is essential. And she's like, you're going to make me cry.
Oh,
and so, I was just like, you know, the least weird, creepy thing I could do. I just like grabbed her arm, like, you're going to be great. I'm like, you're going to be fine. She's like, thanks so much. And she turned around.
That's awesome, Pete.
So
like, she doesn't, you know,
what a
we're
great
going
kid.
through a lot in those couple of days, I'm sure, when you know that this season is over. Thankfully, it looks like
she's going to come back though.
Yeah.
And she loves Baylor, which I was pumped about.
It's awesome, man.
So yeah, I know. And then of course I was like, Cam, you can't tell anybody. He's like, I already knew. I was like, all right, dude, locked on Baylor.
Listen, I think they had already said like she was going to make an announcement on her by herself.
Yeah. I was like, don't say
and like
anything.
an hour later, she announced it too. So she was like, this Pete Sousa guy is going to tell everybody.
I knew.
I gotta get this out here.
I could almost see. And I did like I wanted to tell you so badly, but I was worried you'd convey it to Mosley and he'd be like, I think that's some news that we can probably I think we can know, but he'd be like, he'd downplay it. Like, I think we can hang on to that for another segment till Jana comes out with it herself. I don't think that's too big a deal.
It's Mosley in his class.
All right, yo, Cam Stewart, catch him tomorrow. Catch us tomorrow. We got Corey Dickman coming on. We're going to set you up for your bets for the week. I will be doing the show from our North Texas studios in Flower Mound, Texas, which is going to be a blast. And yeah, man, all good. Looking forward to an amazing next week. Huge shows coming up for you, but not before we knock it out of the park on Friday. Thank you to Slovacics. Thank you to D1, Daniel Stark Injury Lawyers. Thank you to Dan Ingam and First National Bank of Central Texas. I want you to go subscribe. Come on in, Zach. I want you to go and subscribe. Cam said something interesting today. You'll get a notification of all these videos. And around here, we're working hard, not only giving you segments to look at, but like also topics. Like yesterday, I put out the topic about Scotty and I talking about Kim Mulkey coming back to for Britney Griner's Hall of Fame induction, which now I've completely beaten the tar and feathers out of. So I'm going to leave that topic alone for a long time now. I'll leave you guys alone. The Pete Sousa Show marches on tomorrow. Check you then.
It's the Pete Sousa Show. Sports, Pete.
Nobody tells our stories better than our clients.
The difference is stark. I was rear-ended at a stop. I thought I was fine, and then once I got home, I realized it's a lot worse than I thought. I ended up having a ruptured disc. You say you're not hurting, and then an hour later, you're saying you're in all this pain. I just felt like most people would think that I was lying. And that's when I decided to call Daniel Stark. I owe a lot to Daniel Stark. They really got me what I deserved.
The difference is stark.
We definitely love our relationship and love Extraco. It's been an amazing experience.
They made the PPP process easier. They were reaching out to me saying, what can I do to help you? That made a huge difference because my stress level, when we shut down, to afterwards was night and day.
Our experience with Extraco has been phenomenal since the very beginning, so we love Extraco.
I mean, yeah, a new coach comes in, they're going to turn the roster. I think that's just we've got all these transfer portal stats and what Dion did and what Fritz has done. I mean, that's the deal, man. That's the game that's being played nowadays.
Maybe a little bit unknown at quarterback. I mean, unknown to the rest of the world, but you know, he dove into the portal and got a guy who is super, super athletic.
South Dakota State's really good. Give us a little bit of breakdown about what they can do and what Oklahoma State needs to be worried about.
But look at that form right there. I need to say nothing else about this because I found one.
It is Matt Mosley, and it's the Obstructed View podcast, Rogue Media Network. I think they're learning that there's really no wonderful view of me. See, I feel like they think this feed's going to be really wonderful.
There must have been, no BS, like 20 scouts, 15 to 20 NBA scouts there to see him, and he was top 5.
When your old number wasn't working, I went through various channels, to track you down. So unfortunately, you can never get away from me. But I'm happy. I'm happy to have you today.
Nah, thanks for having me. And you know we always family, no matter where I'm at.
All is right with the basketball world. God's gift to the game of basketball, the Boston Celtics are back in the NBA Finals, baby. I don't think the Mavs did anything special. They played well enough to win and win pretty good. You know what I mean? Yeah. I thought the Celtics didn't show up to play at all, and maybe if they showed some fight in the second half, they would have lost by 15 or so. Is he in the Red Sox Team Hall of Fame?
He is also in the Red Sox Hall of Fame.
Something about this guy being in the Team Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I did. So,
deserved it, man.
Which seems like it fit.
Welcome to a special edition of the Doomsday Podcast. Look at this. We got one of the great golfers in the world, certainly one of the great pass rushers in NFL history.
But he also had a vision for you. And so it was like you had the best of both worlds, right? You had somebody on you early, and then you had somebody who was maybe more relaxed.
What were a couple of your biggest takeaways? The person you referred to that I spoke with, I've spoken to some personnel people and general management of the league to get some, independent, objective assessments of the players the Cowboys picked, and we'll go through that. Has the general manager changed at all in the draft?
Nope, it's been the same since I was here the last time.
We are Rogue Media Sports.